folks, Chris Doherty here for RVTravel.com, and I'm here with electrical safety expert Mike Sokol. Mike, thanks for joining us today here at America's largest RV show. One of the things that people run into is their electrical service cord coming out of their RV, and sometimes, especially as the RV gets a little bit older, it gets worn or whatnot. What are some things that people need to look for as far as plugging their RV in, maybe some good points to help protect that connection, and maybe when they should have that connection serviced or replaced?
Okay, I think one of the things that damages RV power plugs the most is when you're plugging them in and out under load. And this happens anytime a circuit breaker is on and you plug into the pedestal. If you see sparks when you're plugging it in or unplug it, that means that there's little bits of copper from the blades on your power cords are now burning up and going away. And you'll see this as tiny little pitting, and eventually it'll kind of change to a dark brownish color. That's corrosion, and corrosion will increase the resistance of the connection. So the next time you plug in, this thing will get a little hotter and a little hotter still, to the point where it'll eventually either disconnect itself, or you lose connection, or it'll catch on fire. So if you look at it, if it's not bright and shiny, that means it's getting old. There are a number of deoxit conditioners that you can use and burnish them with emery paper, but I think the best thing to do is always make sure that your circuit breaker on the pedestal is powered off when you unplug or when you plug in. And then also inspect it every time. If you see any damage at all, if you see a cut in the cord, or if you have a broken connection on the end, missing screws, anything like exposed wires, that's the time to have that checked. Now, I do not recommend that you service your own extension cords. It's far better to get a good molded extension cord, because a non-molded one will not be water resistant. And again, water getting inside of the connections causes resistance. Resistance causes voltage drop, and that's what causes heat.
Now, as far as the plug is concerned, right on the end, what are some things that people can look for right at the terminals? Do they melt or turn colors at all when they're starting to show that kind of heat damage?
You'll actually see the plastic around it will actually be melted. You'll see kind of little, it'll turn brownish right around the edges from the heat. The metal itself will kind of take on kind of a patina, like a dark bronze color. It won't be a uniform color, and this is basically anytime you've got metal heated up, you'll start to see this oxide on the surface. So if it's dark brown, that means it's corrosion, and that corrosion was generally caused by heat. The other thing that I will let you know is don't take your extension cords and just let the end lay in the rain or in the mud. That takes a lot of the lifespan off of it. And always make sure that you size any power cord or extension cord for at least the rated amperage of your system. And I have charts on No Shock Zone that shows that basically, for instance, a 30 ampere receptacle should be connected up with at least a 10 gauge extension cord if you're going to extend it. And remember, the lower the number of the gauge, the thicker the wire and the more current it can carry. So a 10 gauge is good for 30 amps, a 12 gauge is good basically for 20 amps, and a 14 gauge, I'm sorry, is good for 15 amperes. So make sure it's heavy enough. Make sure you always turn the circuit breakers off when you plug in, and turn them off before you unplug, and keep them out of the rain, and they should give you years and years of service.
Fantastic. Mike Sokol, thanks for the great tips. From America's largest RV show, Chris Doherty, RVTravel.com.